Hello, my name is Dr. Shahid. I'm a general pediatrician and medical educator. In this video series of lectures, we've been talking about preventing burnout and developing resilience for doctors and medical students. The topic for this discussion is using emotional intelligence skills to develop resilience. This is the second part of a two-part lecture. So hopefully you've seen part one already, and we can build upon that discussion as we go through part two of that lecture. So let's go ahead and get started. So again, as a reminder, this is the overview of wellness and burnout that I like to use and that I've been using during these various video lectures. And again, we are talking about this area here, about emotional intelligence. And last time we talked about self-awareness and self-management, and we're going to continue our discussion on emotional intelligence and its role in developing resilience. So again, last time we talked about self-awareness and self-management, and in this video, we're going to talk about the components of social awareness and social skill, and those two components of emotional intelligence and how they are important in developing resilience. So let's start our discussion. So social awareness, part of social awareness is being able to respect others. So it's about making sure that you treat others with respect and respecting the feelings of others, because that can really de-escalate an emotionally charged interaction. It's about making others feel like their opinion and their work and their feelings are important, because that can really help curb frustration and anger. And these social awareness skills really help reduce these types of stressful interactions, and that can really help prevent burning out. So much of our anxiety and risk of burning out is related to interactions that take place that are kind of stressful and really emotionally charged. And a lot of that has to do with when you feel that you're not being respected, or you're not being treated fairly, or that your opinion is not being valued. That creates anger and frustration, and can really create awkward interactions, and that can then be very stressful and anxiety provoking, and that could put you at risk for burning out. So again, if we can all interact with each other in a way that is respectful and respect each other's ideas and feelings and opinions, that can really reduce those type of dysfunctional type of interactions that can potentially lead to stress and burnout. So one of those first steps is to have more positive interactions, and that's making sure that you interact with others in a respectful way. John Maxwell has written several books on leadership, and one of his books called The 21 Indispensable Qualities of a Leader talks about respecting others and what that means. He doesn't list it as one of the 21 qualities, but it's under a different chapter, but he talks about the importance of respecting others. And he talks about in this section of his book how a woman has dinner with two different leaders, two different statesmen. She has a very different interaction with each one. He talks about this woman who dines with two different statesmen and said, "When I left the dining room after sitting next to Mr. Gladstone, I thought he was the cleverest man in England." Right? So she has dinner with this leader, this statesman, Mr. Gladstone, and he talks about all the amazing things that he's done in his career, all the achievements, all the accomplishments, all the incredible things that he has done. And she listens to all this, and at the end of dinner, when she leaves, she thinks to herself, "My gosh, this is the smartest man in England. This is like the smartest man I've ever met," right? So she has that feeling after leaving Mr. Gladstone. But then she has dinner with a different statesman, and she has a very different feeling after having dinner with a second statesman. And she says, "But after sitting next to Mr. Disraeli, I thought I was the cleverest woman in England." A very different feeling. Why? Because Mr. Disraeli didn't talk about himself. He talked about her. He made her feel special. He made her feel important. He wanted to know about her achievements and her accomplishments, and respected all the things that she had done in her life and in her career. So that when she left, she has this feeling after she leaves Mr. Disraeli. So two very different feelings. When she leaves Mr. Gladstone, she has the utmost respect for him. When she leaves Mr. Disraeli, she has the utmost respect for herself, right? And that's how you give respect to others. You make them feel important. make them feel valued. You value the contributions that they have made and the achievements that they have done. You treat them in a respectful way, in a special way, and that creates such an important relationship and a strong relationship between those two people. And again, so much of our risk of burning out is because we don't have positive interactions with other people. And these emotional intelligence skills of social awareness and social skill that we're going to talk about help you have strong and positive relationships with other people, therefore reducing the risk of a stressful interaction, an anxiety-provoking interaction, an interaction that's going to potentially put you at risk for burning out. So this was published in 1972, the 70, 38, 55% rule, right? So I think this is important to recognize that as part of social awareness related to emotional intelligence, that so much of our personal communication is through our body language and nonverbal cues. In fact, 55% of the way we communicate is through our body language and nonverbal cues. And only 38% of it is based on the voice and the tone of voice that we use. And only 7% of our personal communication is based on the actual words that we use in our conversation. So more than half of our communication is based on our body language and on nonverbal cues. So this is such an important component of social awareness, because a lot of times we're giving mixed messages with our body language, right? We're saying one thing, but our body language and our nonverbal cues are giving off a very different message. So part of social awareness is recognizing what message are you giving through your body language and nonverbal cues, because a lot of times it's a mixed message, or it's a different message that you had intended, right? So maybe you're trying to be empathetic and compassionate as you're interacting with someone, but your body language, you have your shoulders or your arms crossed like this and you're looking down on them, right? That doesn't add to that empathy and compassion that you're trying to display through your words and how you're communicating, right? So our body language, our nonverbal cues are so important as part of our interaction, and that's such an important component of social awareness. And emotional intelligence related to resilience, because again, so much of our stressful interactions are because of the body language that we use or the body language that others are using, and the perception that is being given off through that body language and those nonverbal cues, right? The perception that you are giving off might be very different than what you had intended because of your body language and your nonverbal cues, right? The rolling of your eyes, or the crossing of your arms, or the posturing, or where you stand with your arms on your side, or however you're doing it, right? That nonverbal cues in the body language can give a very different message, and that could give a different perception of what you had originally intended as part of that interaction. So that is a very important aspect of social awareness and emotional intelligence that has to be considered and kept in mind. Okay, so now let's talk about social skill, the fourth component of emotional intelligence, and what is social skill and how is it related to developing resilience. So social skill allows you to build strong relationships, right? And these strong relationships and these strong social skills are critical in developing resilience. These strong social skills help maintain effective and appropriate relationships, thereby preventing dysfunctional relationships and stress that can lead to subsequent burnout. So if you have good social skills, you can build strong relationships with other people, and that allows for a positive interaction that is not stressful and not anxiety provoking, so that can protect you from burning out. So we need to understand that these good social skills can build strong and positive relationships that are healthy, that are less stressful, and will put you at less risk for burning out. So what are some qualities when you have good social skills and good emotional intelligence? You will have qualities such as kindness and generosity and forgiveness. That's what people with good social skills and EI exhibit. So what does that mean? That means they do simple acts of kindness, like saying good morning when you arrive at work or you interact with someone, right? And smiling, right? So when you arrive and you smile and you say good morning to others around you, and that can really help foster a healthy relationship with everyone around you, especially if you're the leader of a team, or you have other people in your team. When you show up smiling and saying good morning, that builds a strong and healthy relationship. Versus if you show up and you're angry and you're frowning and you're mumbling and you're grumpy, right? That does not help your relationship, right? That creates a mood and morale that is not conducive to good teamwork. And that can lead to burning out because there's a negative energy that you're giving and a negative mood that you're giving. So that's so important that. Part of social skills is doing little things like saying please and thank you and appreciating others, right? Recognizing what others are doing and appreciating the work that they are doing can create for a strong and positive relationship and interaction amongst team members and everyone else around you, right? Versus, again, not giving credit where it's deserved and not appreciating others and not saying please or thank you can create a negative energy and a negative mood, and that can lead to stress and anxiety and potentially burning out. Other things include letting go of grudges and resentment when someone makes a mistake, right? That's the part about forgiving others, right? So it doesn't mean that you let people get away with things, right? You still hold them accountable, you discipline them, you reprimand them, whatever needs to be done, right? If they make a mistake, it doesn't mean they get away with it, right? But it means that you don't hold a grudge against that other person. You're not resentful toward that other person, right? You forgive that other person. So much of our stress, so much of our anxiety is because we have this underlying simmering feelings of resentment and grudge and anger that we have toward other people. That can really drain us and really stress us out and really put us at risk for burning out. So we have to learn to be forgiving of others and let go of those grudges and not be resentful towards others when they make a mistake, right? And be forgiving of others. So being kind and generous and forgiving is such an important part of social skill and emotional intelligence that can help promote resilience and can help prevent burnout. So these attributes of respect and kindness and generosity and forgiveness, these are so important to build strong relationships with other people. And again, if you can build strong relationships with other people, you will then have positive interactions with them that will not be stressful and not be anxiety provoking. That will help prevent the risk of burning out then. So who is the most important person that you need to develop a strong relationship with? That is obviously you. You need to develop a strong relationship with yourself, right? That's an important component as well. So this respect and the kindness and generosity and forgiveness that I mentioned are qualities that you must demonstrate toward yourself as well to help develop resilience and prevent burnout. So part of emotional intelligence is displaying these qualities towards others. But to build and develop resilience, prevent burnout, you have to show these qualities toward yourself as well. So you must have respect for yourself and value your contributions to the team, right? So that's part of resilience is respecting yourself, right? Making sure that you really value what you are doing for the team and the contribution you are making for the team, right? And we have a hard time with this, right? Those in healthcare, those that are, medical students and residents and practicing physicians, we have a hard time valuing our contribution and respecting ourselves, right? Because we're modest, we're humble, we have humility, which is good. We should have that. But then if we're too hard on ourselves, then that decreases our self-esteem and our self-confidence. So we need to make sure that we respect ourselves and we value the contributions we are making to our teams. And that's sometimes hard for us to do. And we need to learn to do that more because that can enhance our self-esteem and our self-confidence and our resilience as well. You must be kind toward yourself and not overly critical of your own actions, right? Again, those going into medicine, medical students, residents, practicing physicians, we are perfectionists, right? And we are worst critics. So when something goes wrong, when we make a mistake or we fail an exam or something doesn't go well, right? We are worst critics and we are so hard on ourselves. We need to learn to be kind toward ourselves and not overly critical of our actions, right? We learn from them, right? We see what happened, we assess what happened, we reflect on what happened, we learn from what happened, and then we pick ourselves up, we dust ourselves off, and we move forward, right? We're kind to ourselves that way, that we learn from it, but we're not overly critical of ourselves and negative toward ourselves, and angry toward ourselves, right? We're able to learn from it and grow from it and then move on from it. Sometimes that's hard for type A personalities that some of us are to be able to do that then. But we need to do that as part of emotional intelligence and resilience development. You must be generous toward yourself and give yourself a special treat to celebrate your successes, right? So, so let's say, you passed an exam, you studied hard and you passed the exam, be generous toward yourself. and celebrate the fact that you passed the exam, right? So treat yourself in some special way, right? That you go out to dinner, you go out to eat, you have some ice cream, you treat yourself to a massage, or you go out and do something fun or whatever it is, right? But you're generous toward yourself and you celebrate successes that you accomplish along the way. So again, we many times are achieving and working toward larger goals, right? But we have smaller goals that we are doing, and when we achieve those small goals, we need to learn to celebrate those small goals and those successes, and be generous toward ourselves, and in celebrating those small successes on our way to a larger goal. And then when we achieve a large goal, then again, we're generous to ourselves and we celebrate when we achieve the larger goal ultimately as well. You must be forgiving of yourself when you make a mistake, and learn to forgive yourself so you can move forward and not dwell in the past. Again, we have to be kind to ourselves, and we have to be forgiving for ourselves. And as mentioned, sometimes that's hard for us to do when we're perfectionists and type A personalities, and always want to do everything perfectly, and we want to excel, and we don't want to disappoint anyone, right? But then when something goes wrong and we make a mistake, or something doesn't go well, we need to learn to be able to forgive ourselves, right? We don't dwell on it, keep thinking about it, and feel guilty about it, and keep talking down to ourselves about it, right? We think about it, we reflect on it, we assess the situation, but then we learn from it and we grow from it, and we pick ourselves up and we move forward from it. Don't dwell in the past then. So we need to learn to be forgiving of ourselves. Again, these are all aspects of emotional intelligence that we have to direct toward ourselves to help develop resilience in ourselves. And sometimes we're not very good at these things, right? We're not very good at respecting ourselves, being kind to ourselves, or treating ourselves, or forgiving ourselves. But we need to learn to do that, because those are such important aspects of resilience, and developing resilience that is so critical if we are going to be successful. So we need to keep that in mind then. So these emotional intelligence skills are not only to develop strong relationships with others, but they are just as important, if not more important, to use toward yourself. Self-directed EI skills can help us enhance your own resilience and prevent you from burning out. So I think that is a key takeaway from this discussion. So exhibit emotional intelligence when you're working with others, but also have self-directed EI skills to help enhance your own resilience and preventing you from burning out. So use EI skills to build a strong relationship with others. Use EI skills to build a strong relationship with yourself. Respect yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be generous to yourself. Be forgiving of yourself. That is so important as you are developing resilience in an effort to prevent you from burning out. So this is a quote from 1927, in which the author says, the secret of the care of the patient is caring for the patient, right? The secret of being able to care for the patient is just care for the patient, right? So this was back in 1927. And then somebody took this quote and modified it a little bit in 1995. So about 70 years later, somebody took the quote and modified it just a little bit. And she said, the secret of the care of the patient is caring for oneself while caring for the patient, right? So it is so important to care for ourselves if we want to provide effective care for our patients. How can we provide good care for our patients if we are not caring for ourselves? How can we make patients well if we are not well ourselves, right? So we need to make sure that we are addressing our well-being, our wellness, our resilience, our self-care, right? And we are caring for ourselves so that we can provide effective care for our patients. I think it's interesting that this was said in 1995, and here we are in 2020, 25 years later, and we're still trying to figure out how to care for ourselves. We're still learning how to provide self-care, how to promote wellness, how to develop resilience. And we're still working on that aspect of it as healthcare providers 25 years later, when this quote was initially published then. So to summarize here, the second part of our EI and resilience talk. So this is the overview of wellness to prevent burnout and being able to develop resilience and prevent burnout. So today we focused on completing our discussion on emotional intelligence and self-management and self-awareness, and then the other components of social awareness and social skill. And again, these are just small parts of the overall resilience strategy that we must have. And we must make sure that we are addressing different wellness dimensions, and that we are doing self-care activities, and also working at the organizational level to address burnout and promote wellness. So again, emotional intelligence is just a component of the overall approach that we need to have to promote our wellness and to develop resilience in an effort to burn out. So hopefully you'll take advantage of the other talks that have been done as part of the burnout preventing burnout series. And there's other topics that have been addressed already in other videos, and there's going to be future videos coming out that are going to also talk about other aspects of resilience and self-care that we hope to see you in the future as well. So again, I want to thank you for participating in this video, and hopefully you found it helpful and beneficial, and look forward to seeing you at future videos. And make sure you check out other videos on this topic that have been created, focusing on preventing burnout and developing resilience for doctors and medical students as well.